This is Matthew Brenner. Today is April 5th, 2017. The plot keeps thickening and the rabbit hole keeps getting deeper and deeper with Obamagate. Here is Susan Rice, Obama's former national security advisor from 2013 to 2017. But let's start off slow. Here is Evelyn Farkas. The clip I'm about to show you is from Fox News on March 31st with Sean Hannity. That will set the stage, then we'll dovetail into Mike Rivero.
All right, let's go back to March the 4th. Remember, President Trump, he was ridiculed by the alt-left propaganda, destroy Trump media. Why? He tweeted out that members of his transition team had been wiretapped by the Obama administration. But tonight, there is a damning piece of tape circulating that could vindicate President Trump. Now, this clip we're going to show you is from March 2nd. It's from an MSNBC interview with Dr. Evelyn Farkas. Now, she served in the Obama administration from 2012 through 2015 as the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Russia, Ukraine, and Eurasia. Now, this clip from the interview earlier this month, it could prove the Obama administration was very much involved in the surveillance of Trump transition team members. Wow. Watch this.
I was urging my former colleagues and frankly speaking, the people on the Hill, it was more actually aimed at telling the Hill people, get as much information as you can, get as much intelligence as you can before President Obama leaves the administration, because I had a fear that somehow that information would disappear with the senior people who left. So it would be hidden away in the bureaucracy, that the Trump folks, if they found out how we knew what we knew about the Trump staff dealing with Russians, that they would try to compromise those sources and methods, meaning we would no longer have access to that intelligence. So I became very worried because not enough was coming out into the open, and I knew that there was more. We have very good intelligence on Russia. So then I had talked to some of my former colleagues, and I knew that they were trying to also help get information to the Hill.
All right, this is very, very important. Let's break down what Evelyn Farkas is actually saying here. And while I'm doing this, by the way, I want you to remember very crucial words, 4 words: surveillance, unmasking, intelligence leaking. Now, first, pay close attention. She's admitting here surveillance of Trump and his associates and transition team took place. Listen to this.
It was more actually aimed at telling the Hill people, get as much information as you can, get as much intelligence as you can before President Obama leaves the administration, because I had a fear that somehow that information would disappear with the senior people.
All right. Now, what is the information she's actually talking about? Now, obviously, Farkas is referring to surveilled information on the Trump transition team. Listen next, as she admits that there was unmasking, in other words, revealing the identities of those Trump team members.
That the Trump folks, if they found out how we knew what we knew about the Trump staff dealing with Russians, that they would try to compromise those sources and methods, meaning we would no longer have access to that intelligence.
Pretty blockbuster. Third, she admits that intelligence leaking was taking place. By the way, that could very well be a felony.
I became very worried because not enough was coming out into the open, and I knew that there was more. We have very good intelligence on Russia. So then I had talked to some of my former colleagues, and I knew that they were trying to also help get information to the Hill.
All right, let's go backwards. Surveillance, unmasking, intelligence leaking, all acknowledged in that tape by Evelyn Farkas. Now, for days, we have been asking on this program, who knew what, when, and where? So, did Obama officials commit a crime here? And how did Evelyn Farkas, a former, relatively low-ranking Obama administration official, how did she know about all this surveillance? Now, that brings us to another big story tonight. For weeks, right here on this program, Sarah Carter, John Solomon from Circa News, they have been doing excellent reporting on the surveillance story. Now, they uncovered the existence of an FBI investigation into a server that was being utilized by Trump Tower. By the way, that's where the campaign was. They also discovered a FISA warrant that allowed federal officials to capture Trump team communications. Now, prior to the president taking office, all this occurred. Now they have another bombshell report, and it shows high-ranking officials with direct access to President Obama may have had access to unmasked federal surveillance of the Trump transition and their team members, and may have briefed President Obama himself about the information they were collecting on then-President-elect Trump. Now, my prediction is that as each day goes by, more and more information will be becoming available, and soon we're going to have the answer to these very important questions.
Now, the big story, although you wouldn't know it to look at the corporate media, is the revelation that Susan Rice ordered the unmasking of the Trump team in intelligence gathered by NSA, CIA, FBI. Now, the issue of unmasking is very touchy because when surveillance is providing information about who's calling who and who's talking to who, U.S. citizen names are supposed to be masked, and they're simply referred to as U.S. Citizen 1, U.S. Citizen 2, and then with an appropriate warrant, you are allowed to get the name behind that. But there's a whole process to go through to try and protect the privacy of Americans, and Susan Rice just bypassed that completely. And so she's out there trying to back off of things, say it's nothing to it, and the corporate media is in absolute goose step trying to make this thing go away here. Now, apparently, former U.S. Attorney Joseph DeGenova is out there saying that Susan Rice was the one who ordered spy agencies to produce detailed spreadsheets involving Donald Trump's perfectly legal phone calls, involving Donald Trump and his aides when he was running for president. And DeGenova is out there saying this has got nothing to do with national security. This is clearly a political spy operation. And it's blown a hole in that wall between national security and partisan politics. Now, it's already being called a new Watergate. It has been for a while. Here's the important thing to keep in mind. The White House does not do investigations. They do not do criminal investigations. They do not do intelligence investigations. Susan Rice's job as the National Security Advisor is to let FBI and NSA do the investigations, and they provide the conclusions to her. And you need to remember that. Because Susan Rice isn't supposed to be conducting her own investigation. And right now, imagine the intelligence agencies are very upset because this spying on Trump and his associates was sold to them on this bogus claim that Russia and Trump were in cahoots together, for which there's absolutely no evidence whatsoever, and even Fox News is out there saying, no, there's nothing there. Adam Schiff is saying, no, there's no evidence, but we believe it, therefore it must be true. But we're hearing from people like Representative Ron DeSantis in Florida saying Rice should face criminal investigation. Rand Paul is saying that she absolutely must be called to testify before Congress under oath. And it's amazing to see the corporate media. They're out there saying, oh, it's a partisan witch hunt. There's no evidence. And which is kind of funny because evidence was not a concern when they were out there trying to sell us this story about Donald Trump and two prostitutes in the Moscow hotel. But you can almost smell the fear and panic coming on in. Now, apparently, State Department insiders have known about this for some time. They've been talking about it, and basically Trump's pick to be NATO ambassador, Richard Grenell, is out there saying there's no way that Obama did not know this was being done. And we know Obama had this track record of claiming not to know what was going on when the IRS targeting scandal came on out. He said, I found out about it on TV. Doop-de-doop-de-doo. I'm a dummy. I'm innocent of wrongdoing, but I'm a dummy. I have no clue what's going on in my own administration. Tucker Carlson is out there saying it is time to drop the euphemisms. When you are monitoring the conversations of your political opponents, it isn't incidental collection, it is spying. And John Bolton is also one of those who thinks Susan Rice defrauded the intelligence system by ginning up this Russia hacking, Russian interference, Trump and Russia in cahoots to get them to go along with this. And Bolton is saying Susan Rice has got serious legal problems right now. And Obama is now out of office, can't intercede on her behalf, can't pardon her, And Trump certainly is not going to pardon her. Now, over at Observer.com, apparently a lot of people inside the intelligence community are disgusted by what happened. And they're coming on out and saying, on multiple occasions, Rice asked the NSA to do things they regarded as unethical and perhaps illegal. And when the NSA is having problems doing something about spying and snooping, you know it's got to be really, really off the end of the rules. And apparently there were some serious, often loud discussions where the NSA was saying, we're not allowed to do this, and Rice said, you will do it, you will do it. So Judge Napolitano was out there saying Susan Rice has committed espionage against Donald Trump, against Donald Trump's aides, campaign workers, apparently also against Sean Hannity, Eric Prince. They were spying on everybody without any legal justification just because they could get away with it. Now, Susan Rice is in full defense mode. She's out there saying, and this is a direct quote from the former National Security Advisor, I leaked nothing to nobody. And apparently in the Obama administration, good English has went. Because that's a double negative, which may be her way of saying I didn't really lie, because the double negative means that I did leak something to somebody, or I leaked everything to everybody. And here is the real damage, because all of these spreadsheets and everything, by virtue of that last-minute change in the Obama administration, it's all shared with all the other intelligence agencies. Blacklisted News is saying that Trump was spied on for up to a year before the inauguration, all the way through the campaign. And the corporate media is trying to pretend this isn't there. I mean, most real journalists dream of coming across a Watergate-style story that will make them famous and wealthy from book and movie royalties. And the corporate media are just absolutely on the defensive here. They're not asking any questions about what Susan Rice did or anything. They're on the attack against Nunes. Who told you? Who leaked out this information that we were doing this? And the attitude is clearly, it's okay for us to behave this way, but it's wrong for you to talk about it. Now, Mike Cernovich, who is a main player in this story, is out there saying that he was getting this information from Bloomberg and New York Times. And those two entities refused to run the story to protect the Obama administration, to protect the insiders, to protect the Hillary campaign in case she wants to run again in 2020. And apparently some of the reporters within Bloomberg and the New York Times were just disgusted at this. And they're starting to leak. But if you go on the corporate media, they are absolutely joined at the hip. They're trying to make believe this is a non-story. It's just nuts. How could you even pay attention to just something so outrageously silly as one political party spying on another? Over on CNN tonight, Don Lemon came on out there literally begging viewers to ignore the Susan Rice story. Say, there's nothing there. It's illegitimate. We're not going to go with it. Where is the proof? Where is the evidence? Well, there's a lot of proof and there's a lot of evidence. There's a huge paper trail. There are other people who have now come forward and said, yes, we knew this was going on. And all of a sudden, the corporate media is making a big deal about, we want to see evidence. And you contrast that with how they've been handling all these allegations about Russia hacked the DNC and Russia rigged the election and Russia and Donald Trump are working together. Evidence wasn't a factor for them back then. The double standard and hypocrisy is on full display. Going on back to CNN, Chris Cuomo is out there saying the Susan Rice report, it's a fake scandal. It's a fake scandal. They're making a big, those Republicans, they're making a big deal out of nothing. This sort of thing goes on all the time. MSNBC, though, jumped the shark on this one. MSNBC host Katie Tur basically came out and said that anybody who reports on the story is helping Russia undermine our democratic institutions. if you're a patriot, you will ignore the scandal. You look at the other scandals we tell you to pay attention to, but you don't look at this one. I mean, that doesn't even make sense. And, of course, if they're going to such extremes, even their most devoted viewers are going to be having that palm-to-forehead moment and say, what the heck is going on? Now, again, MSNBC, Andrea Mitchell gave Susan Rice an interview this morning. Pure puff piece, pure on Susan Rice's side, nothing challenging about it whatsoever. And you need to remember, Andrea Mitchell is married to Alan Greenspan. She is as much a part of the swamp of D.C. as any of these other players. And she was out there trying to protect Susan Rice. Susan Rice was out there saying, well, you know, it's necessary for us to investigate it. But again, remember, the White House function, they don't do investigations. They don't do criminal investigations. They don't do intelligence investigations. That's other departments within the government. Now, there was one awkward moment when Andrea Mitchell asked Susan Rice if she's willing to testify before Congress, as Rand Paul has suggested. And Rice froze up, started stammering and stuttering, and then changed the subject to Russia. We've got to put the focus back on Russia. We've got to put the focus back on Russia and Donald Trump and all of that. And you want to know how panicked they are getting, how desperate they're getting. Okay? There was actually a corporate media outlet that was saying that this attack on Susan Rice is only because Republicans hate and fear black women. That's it. Now, the only reason we're looking at this spying on Donald Trump's campaign is we're all a bunch of racists. So this is 1,000 times Watergate already. And it's not going to go away. They're trying to distract from it. Oh boy, are they trying to distract from it. Now, here's an important point. Maxine Waters, back in 2013, told Roland Martin that Obama had a secret database on everyone. And apparently Roland had said to her, you better get what you can while Obama is there. Not sure what the context of that latter part was. But Maxine Waters admitted there was this database Obama assembled on everyone, not just Trump, not just Sean Hannity, not just Eric Prince, everybody. Jerome Corsi is out there saying that he's seen leaked documents showing the NSA spied on Trump going all the way back to 2004. Now, story coming out of 12160, computer logs left behind, remember those are work records, they have to be saved, show that Susan Rice accelerated the intelligence gathering on Trump after the election. And what that tells us is that they engaged in this behavior, a new Watergate, in the sure and certain knowledge that by cheating the election, cheating the voters, Hillary was going to be president and they didn't have to worry about any investigations coming up. Then when Trump and the American people overcame the election fraud, they hit the panic button. And they're trying to find anything on Trump to keep him tangled up, to keep him from going this direction. Apparently, intelligence officials do not want to talk about the surveillance of the Trump team for fear of their methods becoming known. No, actually, they don't want to talk about it because some of them are looking at serious jail time for this. By the way, Susan Rice is married to ABC's executive producer, Ian Cameron. So now we have a good idea where the corporate media got the intelligence leaks about Michael Flynn, which was illegal. They're playing dirty out there.
So there you have it. What a mess for former President Obama and his administration. This really is a huge scandal. Make sure you know enough that not everyone you talk to is going to be aware of everything that's going on. Make it your mission to share this information. Don't let the story die. Don't let the mainstream media co-opt the narrative. This needs to be exposed.